Welcome to another video of Naylor's Garage. In this video we're going to be looking at fitting or test fitting some of the 3D prints that I've done since ordering a 3D printer. I've now got a 3D printer. I bought the Bambu Lab P1S. It was on Black Friday sale, so I decided I'll get myself one. I've been oohing and ahhing with getting myself one, especially after doing the video on designing a rear wing. This is a section of it. So I started oohing and ahhing with it because when I was looking at getting it printed by external companies, it looked like it was going to cost maybe £100 to print, where you could start, if you printed a few rear wings and a few bits, I knew I was going to be printing a few bits for my engine and the car and stuff like that, I'd soon add up to the price of buying a 3D printer. The cost of printing something like this, instead of costing £30 to buy, is £4 in filament. So you soon start getting your money back. So yeah, bought myself the Bambu Labs P1S. I've got the AMS2 Pro, and then I've been buying loads of build plates and stuff like that and trying out different materials. I'm no pro at 3D printing. I've very limited experience with it. They sort of use them a lot in the industry I work in, but I've never actually used them myself. It's sort of other people in the company that end up using them. But yeah, I've really enjoyed my experience with the Bambu Labs. I'll throw some videos and pictures up of what I've done and printed and my setup. And I'm really impressed. It's just, took it out of the box, plugged it in, and I set it off on the generic benchy, printing the ship or boat, and we were off straight away. Really impressed. When I was looking at getting one, I don't know, 5-6 years ago, there was a lot more messing about with bed leveling and stuff like that, where this is just all automatic, which is what I want. I don't want the 3D printing to become my hobby. I want that to assist on my hobby, if that makes sense. I don't want 3D printing to become the big thing that I'm doing. I want it to help me do my projects rather than anything else. So yeah, one of the first things I actually printed, I printed benchy, a few other little bits and bobs to see how I was getting on. I actually ordered PLA, PETG, which is a bit better than PLA, a bit more UV resistant and stuff like that. I got a roll of ABS and a roll of ASA. If you're printing stuff like body parts and body trims and stuff that you're going to be using on the interior of the car, from all my research that I've been doing, you want to be using materials like ABS and ASA. So hence why I got ABS and ASA. I got PLA because it's cheaper. I thought I'd do a lot of my prototyping in PLA. I don't mind printing it as much. It's easier to print. So yeah, so that's basically what I've done. Used PLA as my prototyping material, and then I've been using my ABS and ASA to print stuff for the car, which, as you can see, I've printed quite a bit. I must admit, the first few days of having the printer, it was near enough non-stop running, messing about, making stuff. Yeah, I was really impressed. And I think I've had a failed print once, and that was really my fault due to how I'd orientated the print or the model on the bed and didn't have much adhesion. So that was sort of my fault rather than the printer's fault. So one of the first things I printed was the sunroof winder handle. So earlier on this year, the one actually in the car collapsed. It just fell to pieces in my hand. It was 30-year-old plastic. It was bound to happen at some point. But yeah, fell to pieces. So I went on, I think it was Thingiverse or something like that, and found a model for one. I printed it out of ASA, so we'll fit that today. I've had this printed for 2 weeks, something like that. I've held off from fitting it because I thought might as well video it, mine I show the before and after. Then off Thingiverse as well, I think I downloaded this, which is the E30 is notorious for not having any cup holders, and I've managed for 4 years, but it does start to get a little bit irritating after a while. So I found this model, and I actually printed it with a, hopefully it'll focus, there's like a fuzzy skin texture, they call it fuzzy skin, so I put that on it. It's supposed to help hide the layer lines, and it has a bit. I think I could probably dial in the settings a bit better to make it even less noticeable. But yeah, really impressed with it. That was those two things were the first things I printed out of ASA, and printed really well. Then I printed the rear wing in 5 different pieces, because obviously the rear spoiler is, I think it was 105 centimetres, if I remember rightly. So I printed it in 5 individual pieces, which I then doweled. So the idea is when I print this, for the final version, it'll all get bonded together with some 2-part adhesive. So yeah, that all dowels together. I did have a little bit of, I had to work on my sizes for the dowels, so now they're a nice tight push fit, but you can pull them in and out, but once they're all fit together, like, it's got enough friction in there to hold it together, and it keeps all the geometry right. And there we go. That is the initial design. And I have test fitted it already, but I'll test fit it again on the video. And it does fit really well, really well. I'm really happy with it. I did do a few little tweaks, which I'll show you what I did in a minute. More recently, I printed a few blanking plates for going over the inlet manifold just while I'm working on the engine. As you've seen, I've stuffed them with blue roll, but I thought I've got a 3D printer now, so I'm sort of finding any excuse to make anything on it at the minute. And in another video that I'm currently making, I 3D scanned the engine for an alternator bracket, which I've since modelled an alternator bracket. So I want to test fit that on the engine, but that'll be in another video, I won't do that in this one. Then I also printed the rear wing, or rear spoiler more like, in ASA, and this is where I started running into my main troubles. So when I was printing out of ASA, I preheated the bed. I looked at a few recommendations on what you should be doing. I preheated the bed for half an hour before setting the print off. A few bits and bobs. I used the Bambu Labs preset for the Bambu Labs ASA and set print the exact same way I did with the PLA, which is probably a little bit naive of me. But I did thin it down. I didn't, with the PLA, you'll see on the time lapse that I'll put on now, I printed all 5 pieces in the same print. The whole lot was printed in one go. And there was no issues. It was quite a sizable print. I think it was about 10 hours or something. But I set it off before I went to work, and it was done sort of not long after I got home. So I tried doing that, but I did it with 3 parts instead of all 5. And it looked to be going all right. But when I got home and had a look at it, I noticed that there was some layer separation, and it had actually popped itself off the bed. But after printing, after it had finished, when it had started cooling down, the bed had cooled down, it had popped itself off the bed. So I don't know whether you can see in the video, but there is some layer separation there and some warping on the bottom. So obviously ABS, if you don't know much about 3D printing, which you probably do know a bit if you're watching this video, so you'll probably know that ASA and ABS are more prone to warping. which I did kind of know, but I thought because I had an enclosed printer, I'd sort of get away with it a bit easier, or a bit lighter. I thought I'd run less risk of warping. I didn't. Lesson learned. So the next time I printed with ASA, I actually only printed one by itself, because what I'd read online, and doing a bit of research, is that you actually need to make sure that the layers don't cool down too much between it laying each layer. So I thought, right, I'll print one at a time this time. Instead of trying to print 3, I'll print one at a time, thinking there's less time between each layer. I'll probably get better adhesion and less chance of warping and the layers separating. And then printed it. But as you can see, this was the one I think I did next. I can't quite remember. No, it's this one I did next, because there's fewer layer separations, but there is still layer separations. And it definitely printed better. And I still had warping on the bed, where the surface that's on the bed plate. So I then did some more research. A lot of research going on. And then the next bit of research said you need to keep the chamber up at around 50 to 60 degrees Celsius, which I think I was naive on thinking that the P1S had a bit of chamber heat in it, to sort of monitor its chamber temperature, but it doesn't, which isn't an issue. I've sort of figured out a way of doing it myself. But I also saw that the ASA and ABS likes to be printed on a smooth bed. And when I ordered the printer, I got the smooth plate, build plate, where up until this point I've been using the textured build plate. So I used the smooth build plate, some adhesion promoter, and went and sort of preheated the bed to 100 degrees. I wrapped the printer in a thick towel and a coat, because I wanted to try and keep the temperature in the printer from the print bed and the nozzle, and just try and keep a lot of that temperature that it is creating in the printer, because there's gaps around the front door, a few gaps in the roof, in the top of the printer and in the back. So I thought if I can block them off and try and keep the heat in, I'll be able to hopefully keep the temperature in, and I'll have less warping. And then again printed it one piece at a time, and this was by far my most successful print of the rear wing with ASA. Very minimal warping on the bottom, very minimal, can't really see because it's probably that little, but there's 0 layer separation. I know it's a slightly smaller piece, but I'm pretty confident it'd be fine on all of them. So, but by the time I figured out all this out and messed about with some other prints and had a few prints fail, I actually tried printing one of them flat. This was the one that failed. I can't remember if I binned it. If I've not binned it, I'll put some pictures up or a video up of it. But I tried printing one flat like that, thinking it'll have more, once the support's in, it'll have more surface for it to stick to, stop the warping. But it very quickly just came dislodged and actually pinged the front off of the nozzle, off the hot end, which sort of is what it is. I tried something, it didn't work. You live and learn. It didn't actually damage the printer. It had a safety cut off, so it knew that it'd ping the front off, so it stopped, shut off, load the bed, and that was that. So no damage, and I'd learned something. So yeah, let's get a little test fit. The beamer is here. A little bit of a story behind that. I'll tell you in another video. But yeah, we'll test fit the PLA rear wing. I will test fit the black ASA rear wing, but there is warping, so I'm probably going to reprint most of the parts. Yeah, and I'll show you when I put the rear wing together how much separation and how much warping there is. And it's, yeah, go from there really. So, the rear wing, the PLA one, put together. I've not glued it or anything, I've just pushed it together as you saw in the previous clip. But as you can see, it does drop straight over that foamed piece that's on the rear window, which is exactly what I was aiming for. So I'm really impressed with how it's come out and how it fits around it. It will need pressing in a little bit when it's bonded on, but the gap's pretty good. It's not perfect, don't get me wrong, but I have tweaked it for when I printed out of ASA. I have done a few little tweaks. What I'll do, I'll tape this on and I'll take a closer up video. So as you can see, I've dropped the rear wing on, or rear spoiler. I need to stop calling it a rear wing because it's not a rear wing, it's a spoiler. So I've dropped it on, and I do quite like it. I am going to have rounded that edge on both sides off a little bit more for my liking. It's a bit too squared off. I think it needs to be a bit rounder. But I sort of think it fits with the aesthetic of the car. Follows the roof line really well, which I'm quite happy about. That was a bit of a guesstimate. As you can see, follows it pretty good. Like I say, I've done a few little tweaks here and there. And it's not actually bonded and squashed together, so there's some of those gaps will close up. But yeah, I'm well happy with it. I think it looks really well. So, this is the rear wing out of ASA, and you can see, I mean, this side was the first side that I printed, and you can see how much they're warped and how much they've separated. It's a bit better in the middle, you can actually hardly see a gap, but there is layer separation. You can just about see that. It's focusing on my face annoyingly. No one wants that. But there is some layer separation, and this end is the end that printed best. I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do with this yet, whether I just fill it with glue and sand it back and still use it, or whether I try and reprint some of the worst bits. We'll see, I'm not too sure yet. Sort of see how it fits this time actually. If it fits on the rear, on the wing nicely, but it's just got a few warped bits, I might just fill it, sand it and bodywork it basically. So yeah, let's drop that on, see how she fits. So that's the ASA print, and you can sort of see I've rounded that off more up here. It actually follows the roof line a little bit nicer. So I think I'll definitely be keeping that change. But yeah, looks, I'm really happy with it. Apart from, I know it's pulled away a bit here, but once that's bonded in and pushed down, you'll not notice that. But you can see the warping, that's not too bad, that's the better side. So it's okay here, but there's only a small flange. But this by far is the worst pair of pieces, and I actually think that's because I printed this one on this face and this piece on this face. So you've got 2 points that have warped relatively bad, and it makes it look worse. But yeah, I'm pretty chuffed with that. I think that looks pretty cool. Let me know what you think in the comments. So, these 2 pieces, obviously, interior, we've got the cup holder, which I'll fit, and then we've also got the sunroof winder. So for the sunroof winder, it should be a super easy install. I think it's just supposed to push on. So yeah, let's do that. That doesn't sound good. It sounds like it's breaking. I'm going to be really sad if this doesn't fit after not trying it for all this time. Right, that one doesn't fit. Yeah, which is a shame, but it costs about 10 pence to print, so I'm not that bothered either. I'll try and print another one tonight and I'll try and fetch it in. But this is as far as it'll go on at the minute, and it should go all the way up to here. So yeah, and I've put quite a lot of force through it and it doesn't seem to be moving. So, but as you can see, if it focuses, I also put the fuzzy skin on that. Why is it not focusing? Pro videographer here, just so you know. So yeah, that was the first install. Didn't quite go to plan. I don't push on that anyhow, I've just put quite a lot now. He's broken. So I might design my own actually anyway. So I'll probably do that. So the next one is the cup holder. Oh, taking the ashtray out and seeing how this fits. I am not going to put the cigar lighter back in for now. It does have a hole for it, unless it pops out. If it pops out easy enough, I will change it, but I'm not really going to mess about too much trying to fit it if it's not going to pop straight out. Mainly because the car's now in the workshop, so it's not going to be going out for a little while, and most of the interior is probably going to come out. So yeah, and then them two screws, and then it should just pull out like that. And just undo your electrical connections. Come on. God, that's on there tight. It's only a little spade connector. Yummy. Is that going to come out easy? The answer to that is a yes. So that should, in theory, just push in here now. Nice. And join me when I've fitted it. So, that's the cup holder fitted. You can't really quite see it where you are now. I think it's a bit dark. But I'll get a little close up. And, yeah, fits nice. Follows the body lines quite, or the lines of the interior quite well. It's sort of what I was after. So let's see how the gear shifter fits. Or see if the gear shifter hits the cup, which it can in this case. And the answer to that is no. That's pretty good, isn't it? The only thing I would say is maybe I quite like I'll probably design it with these a little bit, the holes a little bit smaller for your can so it doesn't rattle around as much, and probably a touch taller on the sides because I'd be a bit conscious that that was going to roll over. I'm pretty happy with that. Again, let me know what you think in the comments. So, would I recommend getting a 3D printer? And I think you all know what my answer is going to be. It's definitely. I think if you are doing a hobby like building cars, building custom cars, then when I say custom, like modifying, definitely. Like the printer that I got was £330 or something like that. And it's printing some really, really nice results. The other thing to be aware of is very rarely are you going to be able to get it to look as nice as an injection moulded part or something that's machined. But you've got to have realistic expectations. Like I've printed this water manifold that you'll see in another video. Which is much nicer, and you would never be able to machine something like that, where there's now materials that can hold super high temperatures, like 200 degrees, and I can't remember what the pressure is, which would mean that that should be able to withstand the temperatures and the pressures that the engine is going to see. I mean, I'm going to be the guinea pig, or one of the few guinea pigs that probably try that material out. I'll put it on the screen up here somewhere, I can't remember. There's about 3 or 4 materials that are reasonably priced that are able to hold that sort of temperature. So I'm going to give it a go. But it's just opened up so many possibilities, along with the 3D scanner that I've got, making stuff like the rear wing, the alternator brackets. I've got the prototype for here. It's speeds along. I can design something on an evening, have it printing during the day and test fit it the next day if I really wanted. Or if it's small enough, I could design it, print it and fit it same day. Instead of waiting, you can design it on an evening, let's say, send it to a service to get it printed. You're probably waiting 3, 4, 5 days, which for the most part is all right. But let's say for the rear wing, they wanted roughly 80 to 100 quid to print it in PLA. If I was printing in ABS, it was going to be another 50% more, something like that. So even with these 2 prints, I'm looking at that would, with the rear wing in PLA and ABS, I was probably looking 250 quid. Plus then I've printed a cup holder, which I would have bought for 30 quid, and a few other bits that I've printed, like the water manifold, that would have been 8 quid. So when you start taking into account what you spend, like I say, it was £330, what I would have spent otherwise, it's almost paid for itself already. And I've not really started doing much of what I want to do with it yet. So it's definitely a really nice tool for you. Well, it's not a tool for your toolbox, it needs a desk, but you know what I mean, it's a nice tool to have. And they're so reasonably priced now. There's brands like Bambu Labs, Creality, Quiddy, I think they call it. Is it Snapmaker? There's loads. Anyway, loads to choose from, and I really recommend doing research. I'm not really the man to tell you which one to get because I have very limited knowledge. But what I will say is the Bambu Labs one was very simple to use and easy. In no way am I sponsored, obviously, because I've not got many subscribers, but I'm giving you my honest opinion on it, and I would recommend it to someone if someone asked me in person. So yeah, there's going to be 3 or 4 videos coming out roughly on the same day. If you have liked the video, please consider liking up, subscribing to see more stuff that I'm getting up to. I'm literally today going to be stripping the front end off the Beamer. You're going to see why. And yeah, a few other bits. So yeah, if you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe and see what I get up to in the future.